Good afternoon and welcome, even good evening and welcome to Paxton Road TV, PRTV Spurs, the reaction show. West Ham United 1, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Don't know how you guys made it a game yesterday. It was a bit of a tipsy-turvy game. Wasn't that convincing, or was it that convincing? To go through the whole game and analyze and have a discussion is, as always, Mr. Sam Spurs for life and Tottenham Tissot Fossey, Sean Hurley. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we feeling after yesterday's result?
I'm okay. I mean, it's all right. I mean, it was. You would think from the doom and gloom that's on Twitter or X that it was the worst thing in the world, but no, it's everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Good. And yourself, Sam, how are you?
No different from the preview, because like I said, that's what I expected. Pretty much exactly as it panned out. The scoreline not quite, but a draw is what my head said, and the draw is what we got.
Okay. So I think we discussed it on the group as well, didn't we? And I'm going to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it later on. I've got a good question I want to ask you guys, but if you want to quickly brief on it, between now and the next 8 games, we're going to have problems with teams, aren't we? We're just going to sit back and stay to Tottenham, come at us, and do what West Ham done. I try and do us on the counter attack, and it nearly worked for him. Is that going to be a problem for us now between now and the end of the season?
I guess it depends on the situation of each team that we play. If you're fighting for survival, you might not want to do that. You might want to do that and try and hopefully get a game won via set pieces. It all depends on the team you play and when you play them. I assume that the 3 Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal won't play like that, but we will have a lot of the possession in both those games. In all 3 of those games. Man City one might be slightly different, but I certainly reckon in the Liverpool and possibly even the Arsenal game that we'll have more possession in both those teams. Slightly. But the 70%, 30% or whatever it is, that's just normal now. And I don't think, as I said, teams don't really mind having less possession. It's how effective you are with what you do in your attack.
Yeah. Sean? Shawnee, where are you? Are you on mute?
Yeah, Sam's got it on the button there. It's it will depend on the team you're playing. You can imagine Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City. It'll be a much more open-ended game. But I think the likes of Forest to come and the last 2 games of the season will be currently the last 2 games of the season will be much more cagey affairs.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. It's Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City worry me in the sense where if it's going to be an open game, and if we play like we have been doing for the last couple of games, in fact all season, it could get messy, or it might not get messy. But we'll talk about that when we come to it. So let's bring on then the slides for yesterday's. If you're joining us, wherever you're joining us from, on PRTV Spurs or Paxton Road TV, on whichever social media content, please make sure you subscribe to PRTV Spurs. Give us a like, give us a follow, because as always, we'll be doing plenty of shows. Just a quick update, guys. Just a quick update. Yeah, you might like this, not a lot, but you might like this. That video now, believe it or not, it's 26.6 million.
Bloody hell. I even spoke to Darius 3K yesterday, and he's a young'un who knows about TikTok and these things, and he even said that that's phenomenal for a TikTok video, even the likes itself. So whatever you've done in that sense, mate, well done. Keep it going.
That's it. Just hope them 26 million Tottenham fans are all going to get converted into Tottenham fans because when they come onto mine, all they're going to see is Tottenham, 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 Tottenham.
Just tell them to follow PRTV Spurs.
It's on there, mate. It's all on
Paxton
there.
TV or whatever it is. And if we get 1/10 of that, 26 million, we'll be doing fucking well.
You know what I mean? Right. So, West Ham United 1, Tottenham Hotspur 1. I'm going to put these up anyway, but I was just laughing at these yesterday. 30% West Ham at home. Tottenham had 70% possession. This is just the first half, by the way, lads. West Ham had 5 shots. Tottenham had 4 shots. Shots off target, they had 1. We had 2. They had 2 on target. We had 2 on target, with which one of them was the goal. Outside the box and inside the box, they had 4 in the inside, 1 outside. Spurs had 3 inside, 1 outside. 142 passes, 80% in the first half as the home team. Tottenham had more than double, 351 at a success rate of 91%. Passes in the opposition's half, West Ham had 61. Obvious game plan. Tottenham 139. Touches in the opposite box, 8. Touches in the opposite box, Tottenham had 19. Sean, what do you make of that first half?
Yeah, it's kind of as I read it. I mean, other than their goal, they didn't really do anything. It was. I thought we were very much. I actually think we played better.
Yeah.
Across the game, but particularly in the first half, than we did against Luton. I mean, it was much more pleasing on the eye. I thought the midfield 3 were carving through their press, particularly early on in the first half. I wasn't intrigued, actually. Maybe you can explain to me, Sid. The West Ham had 5 shots. 1 was off target, 2 were on target. What happened to the other 2?
Probably
disappeared with the bubbles somewhere.
Could be blocks. They could be blocks.
Oh, they could be blocked. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's a game of 2 styles, isn't it?
Yeah.
All I know is I prefer the way that we played than the way they played.
I think on the preview show, I think you both said it, didn't you? The way they got beat last week from 3-1 up to 4-3 down, David Moyes was going to set up completely different in a way yesterday, especially at home, because he would not want to have that kind of a result from last week. And they were playing Tottenham, so they didn't need to be told anything more playing at home. I mean, I was talking to my brother-in-law. He went to the game. He's a season ticket holder. And the first thing he said when he came back later on in the evening, he come to drop something off, and he said, thank God for that he didn't bring on Phillips and done something stupid like he did last week. He said, obviously this time round he didn't make any substitutions, so he must have learnt from last week. Is that what it was? A lesson from last week, and he didn't want to make sure he didn't repeat that one yesterday?
Yeah, you could say that. I just think that they're not going to happen. It's not going to happen twice in a row for West Ham under David Moyes, in my opinion. Man City just scored, by the way. Looks like Rodri scored 1-0 to City. No, I really don't. I knew it was going to be like that, because you have to understand that West Ham are a good team. For them to be 3-1 up and then lose 4-3, it's going to smart. It's going to hurt. It's going to make the players think that, they need to do something the next game. And they were at home the next game, so it made it even more of a possibility that they could get something from it. Had they been away, had it been at the top, it might have been a different result, possibly a different way of playing. But I genuinely believe that they weren't going to be open enough to concede as many goals as they did the last time out, which kind of led to the way the game panned out in the end, which was pretty much a attack v defense. And you're always kind of worried about the set pieces that West Ham are going to do. To be fair to West Ham, they had opportunities, but I think Sean's probably touched on it. We looked more compact in that midfield area. It was very compact in midfield. So again, it was a game that looked like it was going to be the way it was.
Do you want to add anything to the first half, Sam, before I show you the second half?
You know what? we can have a look at the possession, and we can have a look at these passes and all the rest of that stuff, and that's always going to be positive in our sense with most teams.
Yeah.
I'm not taking too much from that anymore because, like I said, I've seen where the possession is. What we need to look at and be concerned of is how many more shots than them do we have. And I guess the second half, we had more shots than them, still the same amount on target, but we took our chances, they took their chance, and that's it, really.
I think the second half was sort of similar. 35% West Ham possession, Tottenham had 65%. They had 6 shots, Spurs had 9. They had 3 off target, Spurs had 3 off target. They had 2 on target, we had 2 on target. Shots in and outside the box, they had 3 inside and 3 outside. Spurs had 7 inside, 2. 160 passes, West Ham, 78% possession success rate. Spurs had 311 to 87% accuracy. 65 passes in our half for them, and we had 168 in their half. 13 touches they had in ours, and we had 27 touches in their half. So I'm going to say it anyway, but Sean, it's the second half. We have more again in the second half, didn't we? In terms of last couple of weeks, we seem to be a team that seems to function better in the second half. Although we didn't do that badly in the first half. Let me get that in as well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we played, as I said earlier, I thought we actually played better last night than we did against Luton. And it just needed a little bit of composure, particularly with the if you think of the chance late on that Udogie had.
Yeah.
And we could have come away with the 3 points. It's disappointing. The result is disappointing. We can't. We're aiming for the early 70s in points. That result last night has made that more difficult. When I'm looking at the fixtures to come, and I think it was it was disappointing result, but I wasn't too displeased with the performance. There's certainly things that I want to, I hope we get time to address, but this is not the place to do that. In particular, something I want to talk about. But it was a tough London derby. It was a proper derby. There's lots of, it was quite competitive in midfield. There were chances, and I thought our midfield 3. I felt sorry for Sarr. When we go into the team, I felt sorry he wasn't picked, but. Particularly in that first half, I thought the 3 midfielders combined very, very well.
Yeah. Sam.
There was a slight adaptation in terms of the midfield. Obviously, there was a Bentancur came in. Surprised it was for Sarr, but that was the way it was. So again, the Suma played one of the better games I've seen him play in recent times. And I do believe that's with somebody alongside him in that number 6. So it was almost like a 2-sit, and then you had Maddison in front. And Maddison didn't roam as much. If you noticed in the game yesterday, he didn't roam as much. He wasn't picking the ball up so deep as he was before. And that's because, when you've got a double pivot, you don't need to. He can play in that 10. I was surprised when he came off. Is he carrying a knock? I don't know. But overall, we looked more solid. I wasn't overly concerned that we were going to get played through too many times, but I was concerned with the fact that crosses and set pieces were going to be our potential undoing, because they were targeting, as people are now beginning to do, Vicario, and he made a very good punch, and there was, I think it was late on, maybe second half, when he made a really good punch, came out and cleared everything, and that's what we need him to do. We need him to show that confidence so that they stop trying to target him and realise that we're not as possibly weak in that area. But as I said, I'm not looking so much at the possession or the touches in the box. What I will say about the touches in the box for us, even though it's high and people might think that's really good, there's 2 ways you can look at it. We've got a lot of opportunities in the box, or we're making too many passes to try and create goals. I think it's a bit of both. I heard the commentators last night say, why are they playing the extra pass? And that's down to what they're trying to do. They're trying to score this goal, which is almost perfection. get an opportunity, get a shot off on goal. So again, maybe less touches in the box would mean more shots on goal, hopefully.
I agree with you. And overall, Spurs 32%, 68 Spurs, 32 to West Ham. West Ham were at home, so we had 68% possession. Total shots, they had 11, we had 13. On off target, 4 and 5. Shots on target, Spurs had West Ham had 4, we had 4. Shots inside the box and outside, they had 7 and 4 outside. We had 10 inside the box and 3 outside the box. 302 passes at a success rate of 79% West Ham. Spurs had 662 at a percentage rate of 89%. Passes in the opposition's half, they had 126. We had 307. And touches in the opposition's box, West Ham had 21, Spurs had 46. So overall then, lads, if you're looking at that, you're a neutral, you're obviously going to say, well, Spurs were the better team. Spurs had the possessions, the shots, the passes, the targets. But obviously it was a draw in the end. Would you be happy with that then, Sean? Away from home after a lot beating Luton last week, or was you expecting more, or was it just a matter of that's what it was going to be because of West Ham after what happened?
Well, I mean, if you go back to my preview, I was predicting a draw. I predicted a draw, so it kind of played out exactly as I thought it would. And as I say, it was, without sounding like a broken record, as Sam says, in the Premier League, it's a game of fine margins, and it is literally fine margins. Destiny finds the corner with that shot. We come away with a 2-1 win. Equally, Antonio goes through and puts it past Vicario. They win 2-1. It was that close. And we did have some shots. There were some shots from distance. Possibly some strange
1-1
substitutions.
Yeah.
And maybe it's one of those things that we just have to brush ourselves down and say move on to the next game, which is next Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday up here. Sam, anything to add to this overall then?
Not a lot really. Like I said, touches in the box. You can look at it. So West Ham had less touches. We had twice as much. Does that make us a better team by getting the ball in the box more? Well, I think it comes down to shots, because most of the shots are going to be inside the box, because they had 7, we had 10. So if you look at that as a percentage, obviously a less percentage, which goes back to my point about that extra pass. Do we need to make that extra pass? Are we trying to create too much of a great goal? Is there opportunities to get a shot off earlier? And I think we can. I think there is opportunities to do that. Again, that comes down to the coach, and that comes down to how they want to play. I know it's brilliant to see, and we're probably the team that's got, I would say, we're the winners of the nearly scored the best goal ever competition. Because if you watch some of the things, I'm thinking, if this goes in now, that's a magnificent goal. Because they've passed it, they've done all these little movements and all the rest of it, but it doesn't quite come off. And I think over time, we will get more of those goals, and we probably will see great goals from Spurs, which we've already seen this season. It's now about a percentage game for me, particularly against them 3 teams that we've already talked about at the top of the league.
So the team, we sort of predicted the team, bar one. Obviously, I did say the back 5 would be Van der Ven coming in for Ragusin, which did happen. Basuma started. Bentancur came in for Saar, which was a bit of a surprise. Even Sean texted me to say, "Well, Saar? Question mark? Question mark." I thought Bentancur played quite well, actually. Johnson on the right, Son up top, with Werner on the left. What did you make of the team and the players that he brought in, Sam?
I would say that Bentancur and Bissouma looked as good as I've seen them in recent times. I think there's a reason for that. As I said, both those players, one obviously coming back from injury, one not on the amount of form, the best form of this season. But when you play together in a double pivot, you get protection. You also don't receive the ball as much. You're not under as much pressure because you're not just one player in that central area. So Bissouma looked better. Bentancur looked better. I think that is really where Ange wants to get to with those two players in that position, because both of them still have the ability to carry the ball forward, as we saw with Bentancur, as we saw with Bissouma. And Maddison can do the dropping back, but doesn't have to do that role if we've got a solid double pivot. So I like the setup in terms of those three players in midfield, and I like the rotation that's available depending on whether it's home or away. I think the biggest surprise for me was that Richarlison didn't start. That was probably the only thing I would have thought. Werner, Son on the left, and Richarlison down the middle. But again, maybe we're saving players. Maybe we doesn't want to push them too much, because Richarlison came on, but not too early, but not too late, if that makes sense. I think it's about 78th minute, 79th minute. So they're still trying to nurse him through. Hopefully, the next game against Forest, being at home, he'll be starting. I think he should start, personally.
Sean, what did you think of the lineup then, with obviously Bentancur coming in for Sarr and Johnson coming in for Kulu, which sort of Bentancur was a little bit coming in for Sarr was a little bit of a surprise, but Johnson we probably knew he would start over.
I think Sarr is actually carrying a back injury.
Yeah,
and they're trying to protect him through it, and obviously I thought he put in an amazing shift on Saturday against Luton. He was probably one of our better players in midfield. But like Sam has said, I thought Bentancur and Bissouma were excellent together. I like the fact that at some points Bentancur was ahead of Maddison. Certainly in the lead up to the goal, it's Bentancur on the edge of the box who's putting the ball to Werner, who then crosses for Johnson to score. So it was much more fluid. I think this is probably the three players that Ange has been alluding that he wants to do, but due to injury and other things, he's not been able to play them very well. I think Bissouma, maybe Bissouma had a bit of a rocket up his backside after Saturday. That was his best performance probably since Luton away. I think he's been, he's been in a bit of a funk, but he looked more of his usual self. And I'm glad that he was able to contribute. The substitutions, I suppose, we will need to get into.
We will.
Curious things. And the other thing we need to, and this is the thing I really want to talk about, that was a shocking performance by the referee.
Yeah. The
referee was terrible. Paqueta should have had 2 red cards, let alone, and didn't get a yellow card. He was shocking. And that foul, that assault on Maddison in the D prior to the ball then being hoiked up for Antonio at the other end, that was a dreadful decision. So absolutely dreadful. I'm just saying, the referee, surprise, I found out later, he was the referee that sent Bissouma off against Luton away.
Sean,
and I think there's an agenda.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah, I know it's an agenda. I've seen it all over social media. Everyone's saying it's an agenda. What would have happened? And he didn't. What would have happened if Antonio had gone on to score after that? What would have happened? Do you reckon
the goal would have stood? The goal would have stood.
No, the goal would have stood. But do you think Postecoglou would have been sent off? Or do you think something would have happened? Because if they would have scored from that, I think there would have been riots. I personally think there would have been riots, because I totally agree with you. Paqueta, apparently against England as well, he got away with a lot. They were saying in the England game he should have got sent off as well.
To me, it was like an audition for a move to Man City. So he's there to replace Rodri when his yellow cards finally catch up with him. But honestly.
It wasn't just.
There were assaults.
Yeah. There was a few.
Maddison is the 4th most fouled player in the Premier League. He's missed half the season through injury, and he's still the 4th most fouled player in the Premier League. Absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking.
I think there was other fouls in there, but I do agree with you. I think the referee was quite appalling, but that's the norm now with these referees, isn't there? There's a lot going on with these referees, and they're just getting worse and worse, and it's gonna cost.
The lack of consistency, Sid. It's the lack of consistency.
Yeah, but then
the West Ham players kicking the ball away when we were getting free kicks, not a yellow card.
not a yellow card, but Van der Ven gets a yellow card. Yeah.
Van der Ven gets one for scooping the ball away with his hand.
Yeah. It's, Sam, question for you then. Like yesterday, I don't know about you two, but when Bissouma was getting that ball in the middle, right, last couple of games, just in front of the keeper, sometimes you sort of think, oh, what's he going to do? Kind of thing. But when Bentancur picks it up in that position, you just know he's not going to lose that ball. He's going to come out of it, because there was a few times when it was so close, so tight, but the way he just drifted out of possession and just moved it around and went, is this now, do you see these two now as, I know you've already touched on it, but do you see these two now as the two pairing with Maddison in the middle?
To answer that particular part of the question, yes. To go back to what you were saying about Bentancur in terms of looking like he kept possession, I don't think keeping possession is the problem for Bissouma. Bissouma's problem is being overly confident in his passing. That's where he makes unforced errors. He gives the ball away. Yeah. I don't think he's press resistant. And yeah, if you've got two men on you, if you're a single pivot, well, it's not a pivot because it wouldn't be a pivot then. If you're a single person in that number 6 and you've got players getting to you quickly, it's always going to be difficult. But if there's two of you, it's different, because you have to then, right, how are we going to then press these guys? Are we going to go both at one player, or are we going to try to make sure that they can, one player goes to one player? And that gives them the options then. So Bissouma just has to concentrate on his passing. If he does that and doesn't give the ball away as much as I've seen him this season, he gets back to a level that we would want to see from him. Because, as I said, he's better in a double pivot, and will improve over time with confidence. The more he was on his own, I think the less likely he was going to get better during this season. But I'm happy with that 3. I want to see that 3 again. But a special mention, I know we're going to get onto them, but a special mention to Højbjerg, because I think Højbjerg, maybe it was the second half, the players were slightly tired, but he looked physically quite athletic yesterday. Now, again, that could be the fact that the players are physically tired when he did come on, but he's adding something. And as an impact, it's good for us. Xhar and Højbjerg as two midfielders, I think that's a really good positive sign.
Leslie Crawford saying here, Bissouma, no goals, no assists. Bentancur, 1 goal, no assists. We need these two to start contributing. Yes, Bentancur's been injured quite a lot anyway, and Bissouma's been off a couple of games, but it'd be interesting. In fact, you can tell now, if you compare these two with any of the midfielders in the Prem, these two do need to get a move on and start contributing.
Hands up, hands up, hands up. Oh, just to come on Leslie Crawford's point, we ain't going to see a lot of goals from these two because of the way that we play and because of where they're playing. I don't expect these two midfielders to get lots of goals. I expect them to get a few, but not loads. The reason being, we've got a lot of goals already, but our goals come from our front 3, possibly those the two fullbacks that come into that midfield area. And if you think about the game yesterday, and they were saying that in commentary, sometimes you'd see Porro and Udogie in a number 10 position alongside Maddison, just behind the front 3. So I expect those guys to be the goal scorers. I expect Bentancur and Bissouma to do exactly what they did yesterday and be a solid base, but also have the ability and technical ability to be able to keep us in possession and to find Maddison particularly. And
the other thing I want to add to that is the commentators yesterday, do they actually know what a number 10 is? Because every time they said our wing backs or left back and right back are playing as number 10, they were playing in midfield. They were nowhere near number 10 position. And my son even spotted it and said, Dad, do you know what number 10 is? I'm like,
I think when they refer to number 10, I think they refer to the fact that they were as close to Maddison and just behind the front 3 as any other player in that position. So you could play 3 number 10s. We effectively had that at times. But what I'm saying is they have to work really hard because they have to do that role and also get back. If you remember, Udogie sometimes carries the ball to the byline. Porro sometimes gets the ball and crosses from the byline. So these players are getting in advanced positions.
Sean,
Yeah. I think when they refer to the fullbacks or the fullbacks as number 10s, I think it's their finishing position.
Yeah,
their finishing position in the what they call the half space, on the edge of the box. That's where they're coming up. So I don't think they're saying that they're playing as a number 10 per se.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's their finishing position when we go on attack, But to address Leslie, I don't expect Basuma to score goals. He's not got a long range shot. He's going to be the assist. He's going to be the pass before the assist. He's not going to be the. He's not a lock unpicker. So as long as he's sweeping up in the midfield, I think it's Bentancur's a goal scorer. I mean, he showed that when for Conte, he scored goals for us, important goals for us, late goals for us. But I don't expect goals from Basuma per se. I do expect them maybe from Bentancur, but my God, the guy's only had about a handful of games in a year.
Right.
So,
I want to ask you then, I want to ask you this question, right? I think Son had a poor game yesterday. I think he's passing the ball, trying to, control the ball. I think he was quite poor at it. And his final ball, I mean, not just him, but a lot of them, final ball was poor. Question I've got for you, Sean, first, and then Sam, I want you to answer it. Johnson and Werner, in my opinion, neither of them are starters. Yeah, although Johnson got the goal, I think Johnson is more of a starter. The question with Werner is he a starter? Or is he going to be an impact player? And he could go with Johnson as well. Because yesterday, having both of them starting, I think we missed having somebody to come on to make an impact like Johnson has been doing last couple of games. Does it mean now we move Son to the left and bring in Richie, as you alluded to before, Sam?
Are you asking me or is Sean answering this one first?
Sean, you can answer first.
Yeah, I must admit when I saw that it was going to be Son up against Zuma and Macron, whatever his name is.
Malpavanos or whatever his name is.
Yeah. I did think that was a mismatch. He's not. Son is not a back to goal player. He's just not a back to goal player, and we were then relying on the strength of the wingers to get the ball across, and he's not really a cut across the near post finisher either. Son. So I do feel that was a game where we needed Richarlison. Richarlison's got a bit more of a physical presence about him. He actually gives you two options. You can play the ball low, but he's good in the air. So when it comes to crosses, we're not restricted to putting them along the ground. And obviously that's where the goal came from. But for me, after they created the goal, I thought Johnson was okay, but Werner disappeared for me.
He did
disappear for me. Now, my friend who was at the game said it was because Spurs isolated him. He was available, but they weren't finding him. I mean, it's very difficult to tell on TV, and it's even more difficult, I think, when you're having to watch the game through a pair of binoculars like those who went to the game. So, but yeah, I just felt again, it's horses for courses, and I would have preferred someone with a bit more physical presence against the likes of Zuma and and the other central defender, and I don't think Son's a back to goal player. And there was, there's a classic. Someone's done a breakdown on Twitter about a breakaway that we had where Son was running through and we were like 3-on-3.
Yeah.
And Son just makes the wrong decision.
Yeah.
He should have put the ball to the right to Richie, or he should have moved diagonally. He passed it to Kulu, and Kulu made an absolute arse of the cross, and it was blocked with the first defender. So and Andrew's accepted that. He said we're not quite right up front. It's there's a lack of diagonal moves, and someone compared that breakaway with classic goal against Arsenal in that famous cup semi-final, where it was Lineker breaking away, and there you had two players who did diagonal runs, which disrupts the centre backs, because they're worried about are they picking up the man, and it allowed Lineker, who's not the fastest of players, he wasn't speed that he was necessarily known for, unless it was over like 5 or 6 yards, to get round and score the clinching goal to make it 3-1 that day. So it's about being a bit cuter up front, and I just think we weren't cute enough, particularly in that second half yesterday.
Sam, anything to add to that about the front three?
Yeah, I'm gonna not necessarily defend Son, but I'm just gonna try and give a comparison. Son's got he's joint fifth in the Premier League goals. If you look at number 1, 18 for Erling Haaland, Ollie Watkins 16, then 16 for Mo Salah, Dominic Solanke 16, and Son Heung-min joint fifth on 15 with Jarrod Bowen, Alexander Isak. If you look at the assists, Son's got 8 assists, Ollie Watkins has got 10. So effectively, Son looks like he's going to be double this year. He's going to be double figures for goals, possibly double figures for assists as well. As a forward, that's brilliant. He's probably the closest comparison you can get for Son as a player, in my opinion, is Mo Salah. We see what Mo Salah does every single season. That's what Son has got the ability to be able to do. His conversion rate's one of the top in the Premier League, and even this season, 62% shot accuracy, goal conversion 29. If you compare that to Erling Haaland, who's played 24 games, shot accuracy of 57, 23% goal conversion. Minutes per goal, Erling Haaland 112, Son Heung-min 151. Only Mohamed Salah has got more goals per minute, and that's 119. So he scores every 119 minutes. So again, when we look at Son, we do look at him game to game. And I said this before, you can criticize players and critique him. Yes, he hasn't contributed as we know, but we're measuring off this sort of level. We're not measuring off I don't know, who could you lose as an example? A Richarlison or, Anthony Gordon or players like that. We're using Son, and I'm matching him up with Mo Salah. His numbers are up there with those sort of players. So we have to say, game to game, what has Son contributed for the season? Other players have to do a little bit more, but Son, he's allowed that day off.
Of course. So if we look at then, because I know Sean, you wanted to mention, right, the first 2 subs then on 60 minutes was Bentancur and Maddison for Sarr and Kulusevski. I thought Maddison one was quite bizarre one. I thought Bentancur was playing quite well as well. Now, I don't know what Angie's theory behind that was, but to take both of them off at the same time and bring on Sarr and Kulusevski, I thought it was a little bit weird one. And I think Maddison's frustrated because he was quite frustrated after the Luton game, weren't he, apparently? So, and now you've got bought off again in this game. So, was it an injury for both?
Well, and said in his post-match conference that it wasn't an injury.
Right.
Maddison wasn't an injury; it was tactical. I can understand why Bentancur was replaced. He was on a yellow card.
Yes,
he's on a yellow card, and you can see that it's a competitive game.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is lose him to a red card. So.
Yeah.
And obviously Sarah's got great legs and can gets around the field as he demonstrated in the whatever it was 20 minutes that he was on. But I did feel Maddison was a bit hard done by. I think he was popping up on the edge of their box, and it was about fashioning chances. And once he'd gone, I felt that our cutting edge was taken away from us a bit. So I was a bit surprised. And just said it was tactical. So, and I have to say it was a Decky did not cover himself in his glory as a substitute, and I'm disappointed for him because I like the guy, and I think he's just going through a bit of a drop in performance. But like Sam said about Son, quite rightly, his contribution over the season no one has created as many chances for us as Decky has all season. And you know, there's been some great performances by Decky, but he's just having a, you know, maybe overuse. Maybe he's just been playing too many games. He's picked every week. But yeah, he didn't cover himself in glory in that substituting. But yeah, I could understand the Sar one, the Sar for Bentancur, but I thought that, yeah, like you, I felt the Maddison one was a bit strange.
Yeah. Sam, what did you think of that first double substitution?
Yeah, the first, I can understand about Bentancur being on the yellow card. I can also understand about the Maddison one, and I'll explain the reason why. Sometimes you have to, in boxing, they say the trainer has to save a boxer from himself. Maddison would play every single minute of every single game if you give him the opportunity to. Good managers know if a player needs to have that little bit of rest. He was getting kicked about. He's been kicked about a lot. Now, had he stayed for an extra 10 minutes and got kicked and had an injury, we'd all be saying, oh, why did he take him off? Why did he take him off? He took him off. So we go and have it both ways. I want to see him against Forest. I want to see him play the next game against Newcastle. And I don't want him to be carrying knock. So if he has to take him off after 68, 70 minutes, so be it. We were in control. Probably it was a bit of a risk, yes, because if we then conceded the goal, we are relying on other players to then create for us. But Lo Celso was available. Decky could do that in that number 10 position. And we can work with other players to be able to create. We can't just have it being Maddison, because we have to have an opportunity for Maddison to be able to get rest and be able to be subbed, as we've seen. Probably could have, in hindsight, we would have loved to have seen him play a little bit longer. But now I'm thinking, you know what? He played on Saturday. He played on Tuesday. We need to make sure he's available for Sunday or Saturday when we play Forest again. Sunday. So, yeah, I understand it from a coaching perspective. Just on those front three, Johnson, Son, Werner. Now, with regards to Kulusevski, if you look at those front three that we've got, all of them are wide players. You know, effectively, they're all wide players. Son's a wide player. I don't care what anybody tells me. He can play for the centre, he's a wide player. Decky, of all them players, if you include him as a wide player, what has he not got the other three have? Pace. I think he's going to be better off as a player that's playing behind the strikers as opposed to a winger in this way of playing that Andrew's got. Andrew's almost fitting him into this system because he's got technical ability and he's also a very hard worker. But I think long-term going forward, he's under the biggest pressure for his place long-term in this because he's not going to get quicker. He's just not.
Second set of substitutions then. Højbjerg and Richarlison. And then, towards the death, he brought on Giovanni Lo Celso. I think Lo Celso could have come in a lot quick. I think GLC could have been Maddison's substitution for me, not Kulusevski. The other two, Richarlison, I think, could have come on a little bit earlier. A little bit earlier than he did. I think 80 minutes he came on that. And Højbjerg, you've said it all, Sam. I think the last couple of times Højbjerg's come on, I think he's done an absolute tremendous job. He's come in, he's done what he's got to do. And for once, Spurs fans are not, oh shit, what's he going to do now? Or what that ball? I think everything he's done in the last couple of games has been spot on. He's come on to do a job. And I think 100% he's done that job. And he can walk off that pitch proud because he's not let the team down. And even yesterday, I think there was one sort. He's not looking side to side. He's looking to go forward or mop up when he needs to do it. And I don't know about you guys, but I think the last couple of games he's come on as a sub, I think he hasn't put a foot wrong. Sam?
I think he's been really good. You know what? You just said that last part, what you said about him carrying. He's been carrying. If you look, when he came on, he was carrying the ball forward. Yeah. And he was carrying it with pace. He wasn't, I thought, is that Højbjerg? It is. Jesus Christ, he's got some burners on him. So something's clicked in his head, and he's probably 2-1 Manchester City Foden. Something's clicked in his head where he's either accepted his role in this team or he knows something about the future. Might be a bit of both. Is he going to be with us next season? I'm not quite so sure. So as he said to himself, you know what? I'm just going to prove myself to everybody in the world that I'm still a very good footballer. And to be fair, as we've talked about the impact players in Johnson and Werner being that, if we was to keep him, I'd be happy for him to be an impact player, but I don't think he'd want to be that player himself. So yeah, big props to Højbjerg for what he's done. His contribution has been good, and I hope that that continues because, as I said, we now have two midfielders, depending on what two, to come on.
Yeah.
We've got two in Bentancur and Basuma, but we've also got two in Sarr and Højbjerg now.
Yeah, we've also got Skip as well, don't forget. So
I've forgotten about Skip.
Yeah, we've still got Skip as well.
I think Højbjerg's, I think Postecoglou's forgotten about Skip too.
Nah, he's just Sean hasn't forgotten about him, have you, Sean? Yeah. Sean, what did you think of the other three substitutions? And obviously, I think Werner one should have happened a lot quicker because, like you said, I think he was after that first half when he made the assist. I think he disappeared after that. Whether, like you said, whether the ball wasn't being placed out or whatever, I don't know. But even when he did get the ball in the second half, sort of nothing was happening. There was one chance where Johnson went in from on the right, crossed it in. Werner was nowhere to be seen. And I think in the first half, and I think they picked it up at half time, where was it Pedro or was it somebody else that pinged the ball in, and Werner just stood there. He didn't make a forward run. He didn't make a backward run. He didn't do anything. Just stood there, hiding. They said he was hiding behind Zuma. So, what did you think of them 3-1s then? Do you think they should have been made earlier?
I would. Yeah. Well, I don't know whether they should have been made earlier. I just think they disrupted our flow.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of gives a defence to Kulusevski because he came on as Maddison's replacement in the role that he wanted to do, and then he's forced back out on the wing again.
Yeah,
which we we don't. I don't think he's as effective. I mean, to me, it's either Andrew's got the substitutions in the wrong order. Maybe Maddison should have been replaced by Lo Celso, for example, after his performance against Luton, or he's. I don't know. I mean, was there a reason to bring Basuma off?
That's what I'm saying. We don't understand sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes it's obviously a mystery, but I suppose it's about protecting the players. We're going into the business end of the season, as they say, and we need to be able to protect these players as well. We don't know who's carrying an injury.
Yeah.
I would have expected, as you say, Richarlison to have longer. I would have had Richarlison through the middle and Son on the left. Which is where we were most effective earlier in the season. So, but there you are. It's one of those things.
It is. So overall, then, lads, yesterday 1-1 could have gone either way, like you said. Destiny puts that ball in the back of the net. We win the game 2-1. If Antonio, as my brother-in-law said it at the game, he said anyone could have scored that goal. He says anybody could have, any kid or anyone should have put that ball away. I think we got lucky with that Antonio one. In all fairness, they're going to be looking back at that and thinking should have scored. And I think David Moyes said it as well, that he should have scored. End of. So we could have won it. We could have lost it. Overall, then, what did you think? Overall, are you happy with the point, Sam?
It's what I expected. If as I said, my head and heart, my head said a draw, my heart was thinking that we could have nicked it, and we could have nicked it, but so could they. Yeah. So if I look over as a result that's positive, yes, because at this moment in time, Aston Villa are losing 2-1. So we've still got a game in hand that we're 1 point closer to them, so we're 2 points behind. In effect, we are now in the driving seat at the moment for 4th place.
Cool.
So yeah, I'll take that. Yeah. I'll take that.
Sean, I know you said you'd be happy with a draw in the preview, but you wanted Spurs to win. So are you happy?
No, I said I expected a draw, but I want Spurs to win. Let's get it straight. I want Spurs to win.
Same as what I said. I want them to win.
I want them to win, but
draw.
Yeah. So it was, I said I could see it being a draw. I think Leslie's called it right. It was probably on the balance of play maybe and chances. It was the right result. It's just if we're aiming for that 71, 72 points, it's made it more difficult. We definitely have to take points. We have to win one of those tough games, the games that I'm not really expecting us to win against the top three.
2 of them are at home. That's our only. That's our only bonus in that. 2 of those are at home. So
yeah,
Anfield. I'd almost forget the Anfield one. Personally, I'm not expecting anything from them.
Yeah, it puts more pressure on us for Arsenal and City. Yeah, and obviously Chelsea as well. Chelsea away, we mustn't forget that. That's got to be scheduled at some stage as well. So yeah, it's going to be more difficult to get the points that will definitely clinch the fourth spot.
Yeah.
But if Villa lose tonight, which they're currently doing, then that helps us, But I'm more concerned about us. I want us to do the best that we can, and I'm seeing progress as Andrew said, and I'm hoping that we can take the good bits of last night into the next game.
Can I just ask this one point? And I think it was either mentioned in the press conference or it's somewhere on the internet. And Darius 3K told me that Andrew mentioned something. And whether, again, don't quote me on exactly the phrase, but I've been told that Andrew said he expects us to be challenging for the league title next season. Don't quote me on it. I'm just getting what Darius 3K told me. What do you think of that, if that's the case?
I think Ange is looking at that from day one. I think from the moment he came to Spurs, he said that he wants the Spurs to be challenging. Because again, what you've just said, I'll go back to he was asked the question about Man United are 8 points behind you. Can they catch you? And he turned around and said, well, we're 8 points behind Manchester City. Can we win the title? And then that was it. Someone dropped the mic, So I think deep down, he's not come to Spurs just for the fun of it. He's come because he's won titles at Celtic. So I think deep down he wants a team. Don't forget, it's a project. He's trying to sort his players out now. I think he wants a team to compete for the title. I agree with him. I think so. And he's going to keep saying it.
Yeah, it's about driving up standards. And he says he wants to be in 12 months' time competing for the title.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we, our coaches been mealy-mouthed, whether it's Pochettino or at cups are just ego or, Conte, I don't even want to be here, Nuno, oh, what's going on? I mean, it's I would rather him be looking to the stars to try and win, to compete for the title. Yeah. Let's see what the summer brings.
This is it.
And let's see what the squad looks like.
Absolutely, I think that's it. What he wants is what he wants. But if Daniel Levy and him are singing from the same book, then you never know. But it's going to take time. But let's see what happens, guys. Absolute pleasure as always. Thank you for joining me, Sam. Thank you for joining me, Sean. Thank you, everybody in the comment section. David, Phil Ambrose, Leslie Crawford, even Brezzy Gunner Page was on there. Phil Ambrose, Ronnie, Toxic Headshot, all of you. Thank you very much. Dino Dinosaur, wherever you're watching us, wherever you're listening to us. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to PRTV Spurs, Paxton TV. We will be back probably Friday.
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Possibly tomorrow, unless Friday's better for you guys. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
There's something missing. Juice Nuts is going to tell you something. He's not on there. Oh, Juice Nuts not in here, is he? Shit.
Juice Nuts is not here. Yeah, I know.
Sid, what's missing?
I know it's missing. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I'm teasing you, mate.
No, that's good. Yeah, so talking points and a preview for the Nottingham Forest game will be coming up before kickoff on Sunday.
Yeah,
hope everyone.
Thank you for watching.
Yep, thank you for watching. Hope everyone has a good evening and a good next couple of days before Tottenham Hotspur Football Club go again at the Hotspur Stadium on Sunday, 6 p.m. kickoff. Absolute bloody bizarre, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Oh, there we go. Ellie, just the girl who loves Spurs. Big up, lads. say Arsenal are winning. I didn't even know they were playing, to be honest, so I don't care. You know what I mean? But as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
And we will see you over the weekend. Enjoy. See you later.
Develop,